It's going to be very shortly in January. Was it January 28th, 2016 is the 100th anniversary of the momentous occasion celebrating 100 years of Manitoba women's right to vote. There's a whole bunch of things going on to celebrate that particular time. And Nellie McClung, we're celebrating Nellie McClung as well. So I have invited a guest into the studio. Her name is Sharon Bajer. She's been in town since 1990. She is a local playwright and actress who has been based, as I say, in Winnipeg since 1990. And she's quite involved in the 100th anniversary festivities. She's written a play called Let Them Howl, which gets its premiere October 18th as part of the festivities. So she is my guest in the studio to chat about that and all the other things that she is involved in the next little while. Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning.
Sorry about that lengthy introduction.
No,
but
that's
there's
okay.
so much to fit in, and there's so much going on. So welcome to Classic 107. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Before we chat about Let Them Howl, and you're involved in another play right now. It's happening right at the same time. We'll talk about that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how, first of all, you're not from Winnipeg. You've been here since 1990, and you've been involved in the theater scene. How did you come to Winnipeg?
Well, I grew up in BC, and I got my first job out of theater school at Manitoba Theatre for Young People. And then I ended up getting another job at Prairie Theatre Exchange, and then meeting my partner and having some children, and I've just ended up staying. It's been a great place to be for theater. Yeah.
So how you've been involved you were involved in theater, you were studying theater. Were you acting as well before you came to Winnipeg? Yeah.
Yes. Well, just going through theater school, and like at Prairie Theatre Exchange, I've done 17 shows there, and I've worked in other places, but we've always been based here. I work at the Royal Manitoba Theatre Centre a lot, and I've written a bunch of plays, and now I've been directing a lot more.
So really, it was Winnipeg is where you've had your whole career.
Really, my whole career has been here.
Your whole career, in a sense. Well, we're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And one of the plays that, and we'll talk about another one that you're involved with in a second, but the one that has to do with this 100th anniversary of women's right to vote. It's there's a website that you can go check out. It's called ournellie.com. And it lists all the events happening with the 100th anniversary celebration. One of them, which takes place October 18th, is a play that you've written called Let Them Howl.
Yeah.
Tell us about Let Them Howl.
Well, Let Them Howl was commissioned by the Nellie McClung Foundation for this event, and it's about a 40-minute play about a young girl who's struggling in her university women's studies course. And so she goes to her professor and she says, they're just not really interested in what women did 100 years ago, and I don't really care, and I don't really vote. So she was getting a fail on her paper. She was supposed to write a speech about something she cared about. And then her professor says, well, there's an event tonight and if you come with me, I'll give you a pass on your paper. So they go through a door, they go back in time, and they go to the mock parliament that's taking place at the Walker Theatre. And she takes this girl to the event, and of course she has lots of questions because she doesn't know she's gone back in time, and she gets really caught up in the whole thing, and by the end of the play she gives a speech about what she really cares about.
So what was it like researching this and trying to put yourself back in that time and revisit that historic moment? What did that bring up anything within you at all? Or
well, I wrote a play about 10 years ago called Molly's Veil, which is about the first female mayor in Canada, and so I did a lot of research then about that particular time period. And for this particular, it always moves me because you imagine what these women were fighting for. I mean, they didn't even have the right to keep their children if they separated from their husbands. They couldn't own land. They couldn't vote. They didn't have a voice. And so it's really, I think it's hard for us to relate to that now because we take for granted all of these things that these women fought for not so long ago. This is why I put the young girl in the play, because I wanted, they're planning to allow this play to be used in schools as an educational tool, and I think that it's a really good way in through the eyes of somebody who's about 18 or 19 now, who may not be aware at all of the struggles that people went through for our rights today. So
yeah, I think that's an important point, is to try to make it relevant today and make them, look back and say, okay, well, we are where we are today because of all the struggles that have happened over the last 100 years.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize how funny they were. I mean, just imagine they got together. They did a mock parliament where they reversed the roles, and it was edgy and
well
it was
ahead of
funny,
its time.
well ahead of its time. Yeah, dangerous a little bit.
So what are the challenges of having a play within a play?
I like plays within a play because what it does is I'm allowed to write. Well, I can write a character that is looking at the play through the audience's point of view, and so she's always asking questions. It's a really nice device as a writer because you just especially with a short piece like this, where we can sort of cut to the chase. She can be asking questions or challenging. It gives it a drama rather than just. It gives the main character of this girl has to go through a journey, right? She's very different at the beginning of the play, then she's transformed by the end of the play because of going to this, having this experience of going back in time and watching this play. So it's a neat little structure that it's not a new structure, but it's one that really works in this piece. Yeah.
I'm in the studio chatting with Sharon Bajer. She's the playwright of something called Let Them Howl. It's a play that's taking place on October 18th, just in a few days. And you can go to ournellie.com is the website for tickets and information as well. Now, this is part of sort of a larger festivities celebrating the 100th anniversary of this historic event.
Yeah.
Tell us about all these festivities happening. There's so many things going on.
I know, and I'm the wrong person to ask. I wish that I knew. The website is fantastic. So if you go there, it's got everything listed. I mean, I've been extremely busy because I'm directing another play at Prairie Theatre Exchange. So I'm sorry that I don't have all the information for you, but I plan to attend these festivities for sure.
Exactly. They're all on ournellie.com is the website. So you mentioned another play that you're doing right at the same time pretty much. It starts before this particular one at Prairie Theatre Exchange. You're kicking off their brand new season with a play that you're directing.
That I'm directing,
and
that's right.
And you mentioned the playwright is flying into town for it as well.
Yes, this is Prairie Theatre Exchange in the last 12 years has done mostly Canadian plays, and this is a bit of a departure. This is an Irish play, and it's a contemporary Irish play, and the playwright still performs it like it's sort of his piece. He performs it with another person, and so he's coming into town tonight, and he's going to be able to see the preview performance and be here for opening. But it'll be the first time he's actually seeing his play from the outside and seeing somebody else do it. So it'll be really interesting.
How did you get involved in that project?
Well, Bob Metcalf, the artistic director of PTE, found the play, and he really, really liked it, and he really thought it would be a good fit for PTE. It's a sort of a thriller, I guess. There's a love story in it. It's got a social conscience. It's smart, and it's very relevant to Canadians. And I think he just liked the piece a lot, and he asked me to direct it. So I read it, and I decided, I looked on their website, and I said, oh, they're opening in Dublin in April. So I decided to go out and watch it and meet with him and go to Dublin and go to all the places they talk about in the play, which has been very, very helpful in directing it.
Oh, absolutely, to be at that place. It's called A Little Thing, Big Thing.
Little Thing, Big Thing.
Little Thing, Big Thing, October 15th to November 1st at Prairie Theatre Exchange. And it's kind of an unlikely duo.
Yes,
isn't it? In the play, it's not a duo of, people you'd normally see hanging out together, is it?
No, it's an ex-con. He's been in prison for about 10 years, and a nun who had sort of left Ireland and went to work in Nigeria for 15 years, and they both end up at the same place, and they get caught with a film roll that has some information on it. So they're being chased by all kinds of people, and they're forced to to go on this chase through the backwoods of Ireland and through Dublin, trying to get away from these people. They don't even know why they're chasing them. And they end up, they end up falling in love. And what's really neat about the play is that it's two people who have kind of run away or been they've sort of been dead inside for about 10 years, 10, 15 years. And through this crazy journey that they take together, they awaken in each other sort of their spirit in their life. And what's so neat about it is that the Irish do this so well. It's very funny and it's poignant and kind of poetic and tragic in places. And Donald is a very political writer, so it's got this sort of social conscience that runs underneath. They come up against the big oil industry, and it's about the little people who take on the big issues.
So really, even though it's a nun and an ex-con, it's kind of an everyman story in a sense.
It is an everyman story. It absolutely is. And the people they encounter, it's just two actors, and they play all the different characters that they encounter as well, which are all little people.
Well, therefore, little thing, big thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's at the Prairie Theatre Exchange. Begins October 15th, runs to November 1st. It's called Little Thing, Big Thing. Sharon is directing that. Donald O'Kelly, who's coming in from Ireland, is the writer. He wrote that play. And just to make sure we get this right and separate, there's also one she's involved with that she wrote called Let Them Howl that is on October 18th, and that's all part of the Nellie McClung 100th anniversary celebrations of Manitoba women's right to vote. For that one, you can go to Our Nellie, OURNellie.com for information and tickets to that. So it's a juggling act.
Yes, it is.
It is a juggling act, and it looks like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you'll probably have a well-deserved break after that. So, enjoy the next few weeks, and
Thank you.
With all of the amazing things you're involved with. And again, that's ournellie.com for information about Let Them Howl, October 18th, and Prairie Theatre Exchange for Little Thing, Big Thing. Both Sharon Bajer is involved in. So, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And again, just have a great time the next few weeks. And do a good job showing our Irish friend around.
I will.
Town, Winnipeg.
I hope the sun stays.
It's going to stay for the next couple days anyway.
Yeah.